Hi, everybody. Welcome to RBL Weekly, the podcast where we break down the top 5 best battles from around the Roast Battle League. I'm your host, Sarah Keller, joined this week by the infamous, both in Roast Battle, he was been on Roast Battle Season 1 and 2, and 2 seasons of AGT where he is the mean boy of AGT, if I will. Alex Hubert, everybody.
Yay! I can't believe I'm here because I don't have anything else to do right now.
I love it. I'm glad that you did it.
I know, yeah. It's a wonderful place to be, so thank you for having me.
Yeah, and speaking of being here, we are in yet another new studio. Because the RBL Weekly podcast is just the musical chairs of podcasts.
I love it. It's just a roving gang of fun. You know, who knows where we're gonna end up next? Under a bridge, possibly.
You are definitely be the co-host for that one.
Oh yeah, I mean honestly, that's where bridge trolls belong. So just give me a riddle and I'll make you solve it, and then we'll figure out who the top battlers are. I think we have a show.
Perfect. Honestly, I was like, if there was ever a show for you to guest host on, it would be this one because of the brightly colored couches. There's a rainbow behind you. There's a weird Muppet that I don't.
And isn't it funny that I dress down today?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not wearing my normal, like, rainbow kimonos and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my own merch. How embarrassing is that? I actually didn't even think about it. I just was like, well, I'm just going to do a podcast, whatever.
That's amazing. Can you still buy that merch?
You can, yeah. HooperComedy.com, everybody. If you want a calm down peasant shirt,
I love
go
that.
get it.
Calm down peasants. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. We have 5 great battles for you this week. So let's get to the number 5 battle, which comes out of New York City. It features Dave Sheehan versus Divya Gunaskaran.
All right, y'all. Big round of applause for Dave. Being up here is his Make-A-Wish.
Thank you, you expired Slim Jim. The name Divya is an ancient Sanskrit word that translates to "he's just not that into you."
All right, thank you, Walter White Power. Dave is like an unpainted Easter egg. Because he's always hard when he surprises children in their backyards.
She's trained in fencing and horseback riding. She's a vegan, and she likes punk music, proving that not all basic white hoes are Caucasian. She comes from an impoverished, polluted place that's overcrowded and smells like unwashed sweat socks. She's from New Jersey.
Dave says he's never dated anyone. He had an account on Plenty of Fish, but then he closed it when he learned that he didn't get to fuck a bunch of fish. All right, we do got to wrap this up so Dave can finish molting.
Divya Gunaskaran is not exactly barren, but she currently has more syllables in her last name than eggs left in the chamber.
Dave, you dollar store dildo. Speaking of ghosts, Dave's been ghosted so many times, he finally turned into one.
Gunaskaran just scared some goon. That's what I'll tell you. Yeah, that Jeff Bezos inflatable up there. That was a really fun one. You know what? I like how quick it was because they both did a couple "you look like this," but then we actually did learn things about the battlers, which I think is so important because the thing about Roast Battle is that a lot of people find off-putting is that, well, I don't know who this person is, so why do I care what you're saying about them? But if you present information that allows you to learn a little bit about who they are, then the jokes just they carry that much more weight to them.
Definitely. And I thought the joke writing in this was incredible, just top to bottom. Each one of them had jokes that covered different topics, like very different topics. They hit different things. They had very unique ways of doing kind of like common tropes, but common tropes in a good way of we all get it, we all relate to it. But like the Easter egg,
that was a great joke, and the molting line is very clever. And I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast are going to say, "What's molting?"
Yes,
that is when a bird sheds their feathers. Everybody, so this bald,
he looks like an overplucked bird.
Yeah, he basically looks like Guy Branum has AIDS. So, and if anybody I'm so sorry, Guy Branum, you know I love you.
The only thing I will say is I'm going to fact check the Caucasian joke because India is part of the Caucasus region, so technically it's Caucasian.
I've spent a lot of time in the Caucasus region.
And you know why I know that? From The Office, because Dwight says it. So if it's not true, I blame Rainn Wilson. Why am I dropping facts about based on a sitcom? That's not good.
Why not? Hey, we're here to teach the people things.
Shows my breadth of knowledge.
Yeah. That was back to front though, very, very good from both of them. Now, obviously, we don't know what the results are. I mean, or we do, but we don't show the results.
We don't.
There.
Right.
But I mean, that's tough because here's the thing: whenever it is a person of color, a woman, anything going against a white man, you automatically do have an advantage. For sure, because everybody wants the white man to lose, but he really held his own up there. I do think she had a couple better lines, like she had a couple more quick jabs that I think would push her over the edge, but both of them were fantastic.
I agree. I think the only thing that this battle was lacking was the chemistry and the fun. They weren't having fun with each other. It was very like, here's my joke I'm about to tell about this person next to me. Even though it was a flawlessly written joke, what would take that battle to the next level, and the reason that it's at number 5 this week is it needed more chemistry. They needed to have a little bit more fun together.
When I first started battling, I was very notorious for being way too aggressive up there, and I would win my battles, but I wasn't having fun, and I think people knew that. And when I started laughing at the jokes people would say and really listening to them and not really caring about the results, the show just gets better because you do need that camaraderie that shows like we like each other. We're not actually enemies here.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think you're right. They were a little stiff in that regard where it's like, are you friends? It's hard to tell right now.
I agree. And I think that's a perfect intro for our number 4 battle, which features 2 battlers that did not know each other prior to this very well, but on stage have great chemistry without giving too much away. Our number 4 battle comes out of the Bay Area, but features a Los Angeles battler against a Bay Area. So we have Artie Valenzuela versus Doug Fager.
Okay.
Hey, Doug, thanks for coming off the Celtics bench to be here. Doug looks like he shoots his free throws either granny style or with an AR-15.
This is very exciting for me. This is the first time I've battled a Furby. Artie is so small that once a week he has to fight off a hungry falcon. See that act out?
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Top that.
I wanted to let you sit in that.
Yeah.
Doug looks like he would be great in the NBA before they let black people in. Or for the Sacramento Kings right now.
Artie is currently on a weight loss journey, and I, for one, think he should stop and ask for directions. Apparently, his pride is the only thing he won't swallow. Artie always looks like a kid who was just handed a grilled cheese sandwich.
Doug looks like he fakes getting sick to flirt with all the Filipino nurses.
My ex was Filipino. She was thick, too.
She was one of my cousins and we made fun of you in the room.
I do a lot of baking, which is why I wanted to battle Artie, because due to supply chain issues, it's the only way I could find a giant tub of lard. Artie, you really put the Crisco in San Francisco.
Oh, what a silly battle.
I know. Well, Doug is notorious for writing very cutting, sly, clever jokes like that. And I just think he always finds the angle that's not mean necessarily. And I've always said in Roast Battle that silly will beat mean every time. Yeah, because you want to, again, it's that camaraderie. That was fun. You could tell that they were enjoying each other. They were responding to each other. I will say, Artie, you did 2 NBA jokes right out the gate, and you got to cut one of them, man. That's too much. You got to breach different topics on every single thing. And with someone like Doug, it's tough. I've battled Doug, and Doug is the most wonder-bred person that you've ever experienced. And you're like, what do I write about this guy? And you have to kind of go outside the box and find these topics about him. So you're not just going like, okay, yeah, he's tall and he's white and he's kind of Midwestern and basic,
Yeah, and I thought they both, like, joke for joke, had mostly hits. They both had like one flub, although Artie redeemed his flub because the Filipino nurse joke didn't hit for me.
No, but that second line of him saying like we all used to make fun of you, like that was
perfect. And like that one that redeemed that bad joke where Doug's lard joke, which literally the audience went, oh, like they were audibly upset about it.
It was topical though, making a supply chain issue joke.
I did. I respected that. And one of my favorite things, what I've talked about on this show before, is when a joke is so silly, but the more you think about it, the funnier it gets. Of like, Artie looks like a kid who's just given a grilled cheese.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, because everyone has a picture in their head of what happens, like, you know?
And it's not even necessarily mean. It's kind of delightful.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so good. And what I loved about this, and I imagine there's a lot of comedians and roast battle, like people that do this show that are listening to this podcast, respond to each other and be in the moment, be a comedian.
Yes.
It doesn't just have to be the joke that you wrote. You can have that little extra something added to it, and it just shows that you're living up there.
Yeah, like when Artie said, nice act out, I just wanted you to live in that.
Yes.
Like what a great way to flip Doug's joke back on himself, call him out, and again, I think it was a perfect illustration of what you were talking about earlier, where when you're having fun, it's not mean. Yeah. Like, if you took that out of context, that's a mean thing to say. Like, yeah, I wanted you to sit in your failure. But like, he said it with so much joy that it was like, yeah, no, you know what you did.
I swear, I mean, I've been a part of Roast Battle almost since the very, very beginning, and I think maybe 1 out of every 20 act outs has ever elicited an actual laughing response that wasn't just like making fun of the person for doing it. For some reason, it's very much like, hey man, this is a writing show.
Yes.
Don't you dare bring your animatics to this.
Yes, it's hard. It's hard to pull off, but when it is pulled off, it is incredible.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited about our number 3 battle. It comes out of Chicago. We have Ken Flores taking on Oscar Carvajal.
Start us off, man.
All right, man. Let's talk about how fat this motherfucker is, right? Let's start with that, bro. Ken is so fat that when he has sex with women, they suck on his titties, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then they nut on his face and shit. Go ahead.
Oscar's grandma recently died.
Hell, don't play.
They put her body to rest via cremation, or as I like to call it, boom, roasted, bitch.
You wouldn't know about eating roasted food, motherfucker. Look at you, bro.
That fool talking in cursive.
Shit, this fat fuck is also a fucking cokehead, dog. You know what I'm saying? Last year, he almost died of an overdose. He almost had a heart attack, dog. You don't need to do coke to have a heart attack, dog. Dog, you know what I'm saying, dog? Your fat ass gonna have a heart attack regardless, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, dog. Dog, if that fentanyl don't get you, diabetes will, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying, dog? Don't even take a Uber home, bro. Take a fucking ambulance as well. You know what I'm saying?
Esos fueron 4 chistes.
Fue uno, pendejo. Fue uno y ya está. Maybe if you put more punchlines on your jokes, you wouldn't know that's a joke, motherfucker.
Every time he says a joke, he says, you know what I'm saying? Because he's not sure if y'all understand. Oscar's the only Mexican I know that was born and raised in Chicago, but he looks like he's visiting.
Speaking of visiting, look at this motherfucker. He says he's Mexican. But look at his fucking face, man. This motherfucker's Mongolian, bro. He's a direct descendant of Genghis Khan, bro. Matter of fact, in his will, they gave him China, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Did you guys know what he's saying?
They obviously laughing, fool. You know what I'm saying?
Oscar looks like the Oompa Loompa that got fired from the chocolate factory for using somebody else's social security number.
Or
the reason we went last is because his caravan just got here. Oscar's shirts come with toys.
This motherfucker's so sweaty, he don't even walk no more. He just glides and shit. Like a motherfucker, bro. If this motherfucker falls down right now, he'll look like the Bears did on Sunday, bro. Just sliding through fucking Soulful, bro.
How's the game today because this is when they air on Telemundo. Oscar looks like he almost got Down syndrome, dog.
This motherfucker is so fat, man. The last time he saw his dick, New York still had Twin Towers, bro.
Oscar's nickname is El Cuchillo, which translates into kitchen knife. The same thing he uses to cut his hair, dog.
Dude, okay, let's go into this because first of all, Ken is the guy in the blue shirt, right? Ken Flores, that's his name. Was that what you said?
There's Ken Flores and Oscar Carvalho.
Yes.
Oh, Oscar's the blue shirt. Sorry, right? Oscar's in the blue shirt.
I don't remember what shirts they were wearing.
The shorter
I
guy.
just watched it. The shorter guy.
The shorter guy.
Ken.
Had literally one joke that he said.
Yeah.
Everything else was a fact.
Yeah.
All he kept saying, like, I mean, the fact, you're going to have an overdose, dog. Like, you have diabetes. Like, yup.
Okay, so full disclosure, our producer wanted to make this the number one battle, and it is really, really fun. And the only reason I didn't was because of the lack of like actual jokes.
Yeah, for sure. But they were so silly together because clearly they're just having fun. And dude, when he said like, does anyone know what you're saying? You know what I'm saying? Because nobody understands you. That's just such a blunt response. And it's so silly because everything he was saying, like they weren't good jokes, but his delivery was hysterical. So
funny. And Oscar then to bring it back of like, do you guys know what he's saying? When his joke or fact just bombed. Like, so good. I do think it's funny, though, to call that Oscar called out Ken on not being able to understand him when I have no idea what he said when he said, yo, you're speaking in cursive or curses? Cursive.
What? That's a pretty funny line.
What does that mean?
It's just like, it's like difficult to understand coming out. Like as if the cursive was coming out and you're like, what does that actually say?
Okay, then that's brilliant. Because in my head, I was like, cursive is fancy. He's not speaking fancy. Like
the one joke Oscar had that I did think was a legitly great joke was that he's so sweaty that he glides everywhere he goes. And he's like, and he brought it back to the Chicago Bears.
Topical.
That's great. You're in your city, you know, make it happen. But yeah, I mean, like the dude saying like his caravan just showed up, and the Oompa Loompa that just stole somebody's social security number.
Social security.
That's great.
That was one of my favorite jokes, maybe of all time. Like I feel like he took a really like kind of common premise or could be considered a familiar premise, and then I did not see that coming. At all.
Willy Wonka's harboring illegals in his factory.
I thought for sure it was going to be like, you know, that ate all the chocolate or whatever. And it was that joke was phenomenal.
I just love that they were listening to each other. Yes. You know, he said, oh, you must have just got that because Telemundo plays the game late. Like that's, you're in the moment. And that's so important because we all write our jokes and we memorize them and we're proud of them and we're ready to deliver. But a huge part of the performance and why even great jokes can become stale on stage is because you're just repeating what you wrote. You're too prepared and you got to let go a little bit.
Yeah, and that you bring up an interesting thing though of too prepared. I don't want the listeners and potential battlers to hear that and be like, "Oh, I shouldn't prepare that much."
No.
That is not it.
Yes, you should.
You should prepare so much that you don't have to think about your jokes anymore.
Yes. Somebody asked me the other night, I was judging on Tuesday night, and one of the battlers was like, would you hold it against me if I'm using notes? And I said, how many jokes are you doing? And they said 3. And I just looked at him and I went, you didn't prepare 3 jokes that you can say without a piece of paper? And he goes, oh, so are you saying? And I was like, I'm saying you can't say 3 jokes? And he went, understood. I won't use my paper.
Yep, that is.
Because that's what it is. 3 jokes, dude.
Yeah.
And then just the rest of the time, riff and have fun.
Yep. That's the 3 jokes. That's your starting line.
Yeah. It's also like, honestly, how do you want to come across? Do you want to look like a professional or do you want to look like somebody who just wrote these things on a phone that day and is reading them? Because we've all seen somebody with great jokes, but that didn't take the time to actually learn them. And I mean, I remember it's not that hard. Like, I mean, on the day when I would battle, I would just be repeating them to myself in my head throughout the day. So that when I actually got there, I'm like, I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yep. It's in your mouth. It's in your body. That way you don't have to worry about flubbing. You don't have to think about it. You can be present in the moment. You know, it's like what Jeff always says, like you got to look at each other. You got to deliver the jokes to each other. And if you're looking at your notes, you can't do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Moving on to our number 2 battle, which is very different in energy-wise, but excellent in joke writing. We have the UK co-champion Ken Grinnell versus Hubert Mayer.
So yeah, this is Hubert. He's from Austria. Quick fact, 62% of Austria is Alps, and 62% of Hubert's face is forehead.
This is Ken. Ken is a really boring man. You know, when you do these battles, you have to send each other like interesting facts about yourself. I'll read out a couple. Like Ken sent to me, I am good at sports. I am bad at bowling. I am allergic to cats. That's not facts. It's like learning English on Duolingo.
It's true, it's true. Hubert's really exciting. So Hubert is 36, single, and works in accounting. His stepdad had testicular cancer and still died happier than Hubert will.
Ken doesn't drink. He used to. He stopped drinking because it was really close to making him interesting. Doesn't do drugs either, which is really hard on the comedy circuit because, like, if you don't do drugs on the comedy circuit, honestly, you're constantly in situations where you might run into Ken.
So it's true, you know, he's mentioned me being boring. Traditionally, Austrians are bored quite easily. If only there was some place we could send Hubert to help his concentration. But he's very interesting, right? He's so interesting that his girlfriend of 8 years left him when they were both on holiday in East Africa. Yeah, he wanted to see black guys in the wild, but ended up seeing them in his girlfriend.
Ken really makes you want to be racist. He told me his dad is from Jamaica. And that kind of makes sense because Jamaican me want to kill myself.
I think you should do it. Right, so Hubert has 3 different surnames. This is to throw people off the scent that his parents are siblings. That isn't an Austrian accent he has, it's Down syndrome.
Okay, I want to correct myself on the energy thing. I think their energy was the same as the Chicago battle. It was just the British version of that.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
I judged Roast Battle in London, and it is a very different thing over there.
Yes.
Because I remember I was judging, and Omid Singh had been living over there for a while. You know, he's our most tenured battler, and he was like, Alex, just so you know, you're not in the belly room. Like, you got to go easy on these people. And I was like, what are you talking about? The UK is famous for self-deprecation and, like, biting caustic humor. And I went over there, and I was ostracized immediately. I said, like, one joke about a person that was kind of mean, and everybody was like, Jesus Christ, what's wrong with you, American? And it was different. So, I mean, that's the thing is, like, those jokes were pretty good for the most part. You know, they had a couple good turns and things like that. But they did, yeah, it was a polite energy to them where it didn't seem as much fun, but it was definitely respectful.
I liked my favorite joke, hands down, was the one where Ken just, sorry, not Ken, Hubert.
Which, by the way, get a new name, dude. That's not acceptable. You can't be named Hubert.
Never change it. I love it. When Hubert listed the facts about Ken, and I hope and I believe wholeheartedly that that's real. And I think, first of all, he milked that joke for all it was worth because he got all 3 laughs off of the dumb, boring facts that he was giving.
Right. I'm good at sports. I'm bad at bowling.
I'm allergic to cats. Like, who isn't? You know? And then to button it with, oh my God, it just left me, like our producer left the room.
I don't remember what the exact punchline was either, but I will say there's some jokes that you write and you go, okay, this one's for me. I'm not putting in the show. Jamaican me crazy. You know, you gotta.
It was so bad, but he knew how bad it was.
Right, exactly. But you gotta milk how terrible that is if you're gonna lean into something like that, because we all, like, I'm a person who puns come to me first, and I have to dismiss them just because I know I can write better jokes than that. And almost every time I've come up with a pun, even if I think it's very witty, people are like, come on, dude, what are we doing here?
Yes. I do think it was, when you were talking earlier about Doug and Doug being hard to write for, I thought that the boring joke was a great way to take someone that gave you nothing and was boring, and then make it funny. So I thought that was a perfect illustration to tie back to what you had said.
Definitely. And I love the joke about, it's Austrian. If there was only a place where we could send them to concentrate. I mean, that's just, of course, we kind of see where it's going.
Yes.
But I always think, like, I might see where it's going, but I don't think most of the audience will.
Yeah.
And because, I have comedy brain going all the time where I'm trying to figure out the punchline. But I think even if you do see that one coming, you're still like, this is clever, this is fun.
Yes. I also think that this battle was a great demonstration of, if you have to use your notes, how to do it correctly. Because they both had notes, but neither one of them were looking at it the whole time. They just took them out, looked at them, and put them back away. So I think that was a great example of, if you absolutely cannot remember your 5 jokes, do it like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, it is a little bit more, it's polite over there, which I wasn't expecting at all. Like, no one's making, like, if, that last battle, the guy was like, your grandmother's dead. If you did that over there, you'd be like, what? What did I do to you?
Yeah.
Can we just have a cup of tea and talk about it?
Instead, Jamaican me.
Yeah.
I want to kill myself.
Yeah. Do it then. That was great. And that's, again, listening. Right?
Yes.
He said you should do it. Like,
Yes.
That's such a simple little thing to just throw in there, and it makes the audience it makes it more alive.
Yes. Well, our number 1 battle this week is super fun. It's coming out of Austin. It features Mike Eaton versus Casey Rocket.
Casey Rocket.
Oh man, it's no secret that Mike has a great stage presence. In fact, the only thing better than his stage presence are the presents he drops down my chimney every Christmas, you fat fuck. Up here looking like Christmas Grimace, dude. Come on now.
That's crazy, man. I didn't know they put chimneys on cars now. Dude, someone just tried to break into Casey's house and he still hasn't repaired the driver's side window. He said when he makes it, he's gonna move somewhere nice, like a Lexus.
Oh man, say what you want about Mike, but Mike is determined. You know what I mean? When Mike was a kid, his favorite movie was Like Mike. He would watch Like Mike every single day. And sure enough, 20 years later, he grew up to look exactly like Mike Wazowski.
Casey had to get sober after he got arrested for public intoxication. When they asked him, how do you plead? He said, cookie for Cookie Chris.
Oh man, I think you're just mad I'm clean and sober. The last time you were clean was when they hosed you off outside the circus tent. You Mike Eaton. Mike's name is Mike Eaton. Isn't that a little on the nose? Jesus Christ, what is your dad's name? Daniel Disappointed?
Calm down, Casey Methamphetamine. Casey works with a team of writers. I think that's a lot nicer than calling him schizophrenic. I feel so bad for bullying Donnie Thornberry. Casey thinks that all women are autistic because they refuse to make eye contact with him.
I don't have any problem getting women, dude. I got a fucking bag of rubies in my pocket. Come on. Man, Mike Eaton, dude. Mike loves bragging about himself on Facebook. Yeah, you've seen it. Last week, Mike posted like 5 times about opening up for Louis C.K., which makes a lot of sense because apparently they both love jerking themselves off in front of their friends.
Casey actually spends a lot of time at pharmacies. Earlier in his life, it was to steal Robitussin. Now it's to print all of his jokes. Casey moved here from Boise, Idaho. We're so glad he's in Texas. He had to leave because of all the Boise fuck there. Now he's just obsessed with Grimace. That's his new thing. The only big purple thing ruining his life is his liver.
Wow, dude, that really killed me. That's good. But you should know a thing or two about killing since you killed all those kids in Illinois, you piece of shit. Mike Wayne Gacy! Mike Wayne Gacy! Mike Wayne Gacy!
I can't believe that guy lives in a car.
You can't believe he has a car?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, exactly. He probably lives on a Lime scooter would be more accurate. I mean, that was so fun. And here's the thing. Props, and like we were saying, act outs almost never work. Props almost never work. But I give it up to you for actually making an attempt to do something different. His energy was obviously like he's just running around the stage while the other guy's relaxed, leaning against the back wall. And so the combative energy was great because they were so different from each other.
Yeah, and this is not the first time that we've seen Casey Rocket on this show. And he's brought props every time. And they have been successful. I do think like his energy was very overwhelming with the back and forth. However, he addressed it when he made the joke about Mike Eaton's stage presence being so good. It was like, oh, okay, you're aware that you're a psychopath. Like,
yeah, very much so.
Which is great. And I thought their back and forth was so good. They both had really, really well written jokes. They had a couple like misses, but they both were in the moment, in the pocket, as like Jeff would say. I do need to take a moment to talk about the rubies in the pocket.
Yeah, what was that?
That might be one of my favorite things I've ever seen because I have so many questions.
Right, yeah, that was bizarre.
How did you know he was going to say something about you not getting women? Or do you just always have a bag of rubies in your pocket?
Right, are you saying rubies or roofies?
They were rubies. They were jewels.
Oh my gosh. That's so bizarre.
They were blue.
Oh, I messed that. I misheard that. I thought it was roofies for sure. And then he just brought out a bag. And I was like, oh, okay. You just have those on you. Cool.
I thought so at first too. But then I saw them and I'm like, oh no, he said rubies, which is even better. And I wonder if he knew that people would think he said roofies. And then he flipped it on its head of like, no, I'm going to say rubies. But like, you know, like.
That joke was also
brilliant.
Great from Mike Eaton, though, of just saying that he thinks every woman is autistic because no one will look him in the eye.
Yes.
That's a great joke. And I will say, like, that's perfectly written. Whereas I think Casey, as much fun as he was, if you write the joke with a little more clarity, you don't need the prop.
Absolutely.
I knew where you were going with the John Wayne Gacy thing.
Yes.
You just needed an extra little thing to infer that that's where you were. Say that he's a clown or whatever that keeps kids in the basement and make us put it together a little bit. We know who Mike Wazowski is, and if you don't know who it is, it's not going to be funny anyway.
Yes.
So just like, you know, believe in yourself and what you write, that you don't need to show the audience in a picture like, you guys get it, you know?
Perfect. That was such good analysis, Hubert.
Thank you.
I also have to give Mike Eaton a special shout out for the Donnie Thornberry reference. That brought me so much joy. I loved that show. My boyfriend was listening to it when we were writing down the order, and he was like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't know."
Yeah, I never watched that show, but I got the reference immediately. And yeah, again,
you kind of remind me of Donnie Thornberry.
I'll give you that. I mean, Casey and I have similar hairstyles. So someone, and I think I have a lot of energy. Jesus Christ. I mean, I think I just know how to control and hone my energy a little bit better. I don't know how long Casey's been doing stand-up, but I think eventually you can't just be sprinting around the stage because it is distracting when, especially in a writing show.
Yes.
You know, like personality is great, but like tone it back just a little bit, and I think it would have been more effective because Mike, that relaxed presence, it says like, hey man, I don't need to be running around like you right now.
That's exactly right. Like if that is your character or your personality where you are frenetic and you do have a lot of energy, and like that's a great tool that you can use if used correctly.
I made that mistake in season 2. I did too much on stage against Matthew Broussard. I was like doing cartwheels and running around the stage and things just because I was just having a great time, but it did make me look nervous.
Yes.
As opposed to being in control. And that's where, like, when you're just leaning back on the wall, you got your arm up, you're kind of like just watching this other dude, it's kind of almost self-implode.
Yes, exactly. Well, those were our top 5 battles this week, everybody. Special thanks to my guest co-host, Alex Hooper.
Thanks for having me.
Alex, where can people find you? What do you want to plug?
HooperComedy.com, at Hooper Hairpuff, and in the chemo ward every other Tuesday at Hollywood Presbyterian, everybody. Come hang out in the Barker Lounge with me.
And I'm Sarah Keller. You can find me at Sarah Keller07 across all social media. Also follow RBL Weekly and Roast Battle. See you next week, everybody.
Bye.